Hey folks, what's up? This is Adam here, aka Guy. Continuing with the Batman series. Okay. Please check out my previous reviews on the first Batman movie that came out in the year of 1999. Of course, that's what stars Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Yesterday, I watched and reviewed my favourite Batman movie, which is Batman Returns, where Michael Keaton inspired his role. Tim Burton came back for directing, of course you got Danny DeVito playing the hideous Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, No complaints at all. Love those first two movies. Love the first two Tim Burton movies where he directed them, because in my opinion that was the best Batman. And I thought Michael Keaton played the best Batman, Just the way he portrayed the character, at times where he was like really dark, really mysterious, and how he somehow changed himself a little bit when he played the Bruce Wayne character when he's not in costume. Again, I love the dark look of Gotham in them first two movies, like the dark settings where the place looks like really haunted and you feel like you'd have to watch over your back every 5 minutes just for walking down the street, because it's the type of place where you get mugged. So the dark atmosphere, the dark surroundings of Gotham and the dark nature of Batman himself, really fucking love them. However, 1995, this movie comes out. I've got the Batman, the motion picture anthology right here on Blu-ray, from 1998, from 1997, the first four Batman movies. So in 1995, this one comes out, Batman Forever. Tim Burton didn't come back for directing. Michael Keaton read the script, didn't like it, and also at the same time he was being loyal to Tim Burton. And I think a part of him said, if Tim Burton's not going to come back, I'm not going to come back. Plus, when he read the script, he said it was too light. He says it was a bit more cartoony. It didn't really hold a comparison to the first two Batman movies where it was dark. Because Warner Brothers got a lot of complaints from parents and from McDonald's also. Because McDonald's was doing all the advertisement for Batman, putting the question mark of the Riddler on the mugs and doing all the toys for Happy Meals and things like that. And McDonald's even told Warner Brothers, says, look, this is too dark. Because when Batman Returns came out, it received a lot of complaints saying the movie is too dark, it's frightening the kids and all that kind of shit. And my opinion to that is, big deal, The world just doesn't involve around kids all the time, but of course the Batman character is looked up to as a superhero for the kids and all that. And of course, when I was in the process of making this third Batman movie, Tim Burton was interviewed, and Tim Burton even said while this was being made, he says, you don't want me to do this, do you? But I was like, yeah, we do, but we just want you to tone it down a bit. We're getting all these complaints. We want to take a new direction in Batman, make it lighter, make it more suitable for a kid audience, teenage audience, and all that kind of stuff. Tim Burton was not happy with the idea. Like I already mentioned, Michael Keaton did not come back as Batman because he did not like the script. And he did not like the fact that Tim Burton wasn't going to return for directing. They got this new director to review this movie. And the director who reviewed this movie, I was looking him up, and he has done some good films. I admit that. He did Falling Down, which starred Michael Douglas. I like that movie. And he's done some other roles as well. Well, he's done some other films as well that have won awards. So the director is not the problem. Okay. Now, in terms of the cast of this movie, a lot of people were booked to, be these characters in this movie. I mean, Val Kilmer as the new Batman, Now, Val Kilmer, I'd say is my second favourite Batman. I'm not stuck on him like I am with Michael Keaton, because in my opinion, Michael Keaton is the Batman, Played him to a T, the way he looked, the way he did body language, the way he moved, the way he portrayed this really dark Batman character. I thought it was 2 thumbs up. Now, Val Kilmer, put it this way, I thought he did a better performance than George Clooney in Batman and Robin, because George Clooney was just like, hey, I'm Batman. He was just being himself. Christian Bale in The Dark Knight and all that, I thought, he was what he was. But again, I wasn't stuck on it. I'm not putting anything up against Christian Bale. You know, I'm not insulting the guy or anything like that. I'm not even insulting the Dark Knight movies. But all I'm saying is those movies were just not my cup of tea. But hey, I know the movie has fans. People are really big on those movies and people really love them. That's fantastic. But my movies of Batman are the first two Tim Burton Batman movies. Batman Forever, I'm like, with. There's some things I do appreciate about the movie. But one thing I will admit right away is that it's a major step down from the first two movies. That's one thing I will say. We get the bad guys. We get Tommy Lee Jones playing Two-Face. We get Jim Carrey playing the Riddler. Now, I've been doing some research on the internet, and I don't know if these stories are true or false, but there was a lot of ideas for a third Batman movie. The one I read that was really strong, I mean, I don't know if it's a fake story or a true story, but Two-Face was going to be the main villain in Batman 3 if Tim Burton was going to do it. And apparently the character is going to be extremely dark. You know, 10 times more darker than Tommy Lee Jones' portrayal in this actual movie. But apparently Two-Face was going to be the main villain on his own. Michael Keaton was supposed to come back as Batman for the third time. And Catwoman was somehow, played by Michelle Pfeiffer again, somehow mixed up in the equation between being a good person and a bad person. And again, it was going to have its dark look of Gotham, it was going to have its dark nature, and that was going to be the story to it. But there was also another story about the Robin character, you know, Chris O'Donnell, you know. Apparently there was some talks of other actors playing Chris O'Donnell's character as Robin. And again, people complain about the fact that Batman was getting a new partner, you know, saying this is going to make the Batman character look weak because does he need a partner, really? Is this a message of him saying he needs extra help? You know, so some people even complain about the Robin character. Now, the Chris O'Donnell playing Robin in this movie, I'd say he's okay. I'm not the biggest Robin fan. You know, I'm too used to liking Batman on his own, you know. But I'm not putting the Robin character down. It was okay. And Chris O'Donnell, I thought, played him fine. There were some moments where I thought he was cocky, arrogant. But again, I liked some of the fighting scene he did, like with those glow-in-the-dark face paint thugs that he thought. He ended up kissing that woman at the end of the fight. You know, I mean, the purpose of his character is performing in a circus with his family. You know, Two-Face shoots at the family members. The Robin and his family members are trying to get rid of this bomb in this circus, and they succeed. But Robin's family fall to their death. Two-Face is the cause of it, and of course, Chris O'Donnell's character as Robin wants to get to the bottom of this, and he's got vengeance in mind to kill Two-Face to avenge his family's death. Basically, there's a scene where he goes and lives with Bruce Wayne, you know, wants to be his partner so he can get close to Two-Face and kill him, and Batman's just not accepting him as a partner, saying that getting revenge is not the answer to your problems, you know. Having Jim Carrey in this movie, I'd say he saved this movie on some different levels, because, of course, Jim Carrey was every kid's hero back then, especially in the 90s. He was extremely popular, you know, and, of course, when they're throwing Jim Carrey in a big Batman movie, the kids want to see it. Because, I mean, I saw this movie for the first time at cinema with my sister and a couple of friends, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to see this movie, because we got like, oh, look, Ace Ventura's going to be in a Batman movie. I mean, he plays Enigma, this worker, this crazed worker, who's obsessed with Bruce Wayne. He's working hard on this invention where you put on this headset and manipulates brainwaves, you know, trying to make the people believe that they're actually in the TV show. And of course, when Bruce Wayne hears about his invention, he's not interested because he thinks it will raise too many questions about manipulating brainwaves and manipulating the mind. So he rejects his invention. And Enigma takes that really personally because he feels like he's been let down by his idol, the person who he's obsessed with. So he wants to get vengeance in mind. He wants to become the Riddler. There's a scene where he pushes his boss out the window. I can't remember what he said when he did that. He said something like, tough on the landing, he should have maybe settled for the bronze. So just like in his other films, Jim Carrey's way over the top. He's very wacky. Has his one-liners, his comedy one-liners. you know. But there's a scene where he goes to Two-Face's lair. They form a partnership to try and take out Batman, because he just really takes it to heart that the Batman just turned down his invention and all that kind of thing. So, as the Riddler, he wants to, destroy Batman, basically, and he forms this alliance with Two-Face. Okay. Speaking of the Riddler character, those people casting for his role as well. I mean, there was talks of Robin Williams playing the Riddler. Now, that would have been interesting, seeing Robin Williams play the Riddler, because he's more than capable of pulling off the Riddler character. I'm not putting Jim Carrey's performance down as the Riddler, but it would have been nice to see how Robin Williams would have worked with that character, because, like I say, he's been in loads of films where he's been over the top. There's been films where he's made characters come to life due to his talent and all that kind of stuff. So, him dressed as the Riddler and performing as the Riddler would have been something really interesting. But Jim Carrey got the role. One of the characters, Nicole Kidman. Now, I thought she was a really slutty character. I mean, straight away when you see her, you're like, that's the woman who Batman's going to end up getting. Because in every single scene in this movie where Nicole Kidman's in this, she's either trying to make a pass at Batman or take off her clothes. Nothing wrong with that. We all like a good slut, don't we? So, got no complaints, but she's a really slutty character. But got no complaints. I'm a hot-blooded male myself, so got no complaints about Nicole Kidman taking off her clothes or trying to seduce Batman, But in every scene, she's pretty much flirting with him or kissing him or whatever. So I think Val Kilmer at the time of his life being Batman for that particular purpose, you know what I mean? So I've got no really major complaints about the portrayal of these characters. But I just wish I could have seen original ideas, like Tim Burton coming back to direct, seeing Two-Face as the main villain, seeing how Catwoman would have been fitting into the equation in all of this, being mixed good and bad. The fact that Batman Returns was totally, ignored and took in a new direction. Because, like I said, there's no dark look about this movie. One thing I really noticed about this movie, it was really colourful. Like in Riddler's lair, with all the lights, the question mark lights, choice of costumes for the Riddler. 1 minute he's like in this green suit with black question marks all around it. Or he's got that light up jacket, where he kidnapped Nicole Kidman's character, and he's like, light the jacket, it keeps me safe when I'm jogging at night, with his wacky one-liners and things like that. So, while all this is going on, Riddler and Two-Face are trying to bring Gotham City to its demise. Chris O'Donnell's character is trying to get vengeance for his family by killing Two-Face, but there's a scene where he does the right thing because Two-Face is trying to hang him off a cliff. Robin helps him up, but he comes to his demise anyway, Two-Face, because he falls to his death. When he flips the coin, Batman throws them other coins, and he tries to catch the coin, but he falls to his death into the rocks below. The Riddler ends up getting arrested and taken to the mental asylum, because he puts Batman on the spot where there's a scene where he gets him to choose between Robin or Nicole Kidman, which will it be and all that kind of stuff. But he succeeds as a hero and saves both people, and obviously the Riddler goes into the mental asylum and things like that. I mean, one scene I did like, which I found hilarious, was the scene where Riddler and Two-Face invaded Batman's castle, pretend to be trick-or-treaters. Tweak or tweet! They knock out Alfred. They invade the castle, and the Riddler's like destroying the Batcave. He's throwing like all these green bat bombs into different certain of his lair. He blows up the Batmobile. Joygasm! Hilarious scenes. So good scenes with the Riddler. I've got no complaints with Jim Carrey's performance. As far as Tommy Lee Jones goes, he did a fine performance, but he was not like, again, the original choice for the role. He wasn't like the original, person who wanted to be the Two-Face. I like the whole thing with the coin and his look. How half he looks human and half demented. So overall, I'd say Batman Forever, it's okay. It's just the fact that I would have liked to have seen some original stuff, how Batman Forever would have turned out if Tim Burton was directing. But again, there's nothing wrong with the director. You know, he did Falling Down with Michael Douglas, which I liked. You know, I suppose the selection of characters weren't as bad. I mean, Val Kilmer is my second favourite Batman. You know, he tries to put effort into the Batman character. He wasn't as good as Michael Keaton, but still, he tried his best to pull it off, and he did a fine job. You know, my second favourite Batman is him. And again, it is a step down, but not a disastrous movie like fucking Batman and Robin, which I'll be ranting on in the next review. But Batman Forever, I'll say it's an okay movie. I mean, I've just seen it moments ago. I mean, it doesn't have that same feel like it did when I watched it back in 1995 at the cinema, because in 1995, I was only a kid. It was nice to see Batman as a superhero and see Jim Carrey as the Riddler. So I have to admit, I enjoyed the movie back then than I did just moments ago before doing this review. You know, but again, it was fine, but it's not one of those Batman movies I'd choose over the likes of Batman Returns or the first Batman movie, which came out the year of 1989. But like I said, I've got it with that edition. I mean, in terms of special features, you know, we've got a trailer, you know, we've got some profile galleries, some additional scenes. We've got the commentary by the director, who's Joel Schumer. Beyond the Batman documentary gallery, you know, we've got image galleries. They talk about the effects of Batman, the effects of the settings, and basically all the stuff with the effects, you know. Shadows of the Bat, the cinematic saga of the Dark Knight Part 5, reinventing a hero. So the film has some okay behind the scenes stuff and some special features, but to say the truth, I'd rather be more interested in seeing the special features of Batman Returns or anything like that. I suppose they're alright, you know. Nothing to go crazy about going behind the scenes of Batman Forever, about how they made it or anything like that. I suppose it's a must-see for any die-hard Batman fan if they're a fan of this movie, but, you know, it's alright, you know what I mean. I will state some other facts about this movie before I leave it. I already mentioned it came out the year of 1995. In fact, the official release date of this movie in the United States was June 16th of 1995. Had a budget of $100 million. Made $336.6 million at the box office. And pretty much everything has already been mentioned. I mean, it's a shame it got worse from here, these Batman movies. So overall, I'll just wrap this up now, everybody, by saying, okay movie. Again, it's not one of my first options to watch as a Batman movie. I'd rather watch Tim Burton's Batman, the first two, especially Batman Returns. It was okay, though. There were some elements in this movie I appreciated, but again, I'm not overboard must-see about this movie, you know what I mean? It was a step down, I admit that, but there were some elements that saved the movie, and there is some elements in this movie that makes it worth watching. So I will say about that. So please like, rate, comments, everybody, and email if you've got any questions. Look forward to the next review, which is a fucking rant. Please like, rate, comment, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace out.